We're live. Okay, good. Um, this is a quick one. I said 20. I said 5 minutes with the other video. It's 25 minutes long. I gotta be out of the house in half an hour. It's morning, as you can see, the big bright light. Oh, that's beautiful. There's a seagull out there battling with the wind. It was raining like 20 minutes ago, but I had this in my mind last night, so I thought I'd come and get it done. In front of me right now is and I'm struggling to read this. And Sisyphus. The point of this is just to remind myself to read. Not in terms of, and I think some people do this, because I do this, or at least did this. I think about a year ago, when we had the whole Manosphere stuff, was it a year ago? When everything was a bit like, I want to say goal oriented. When everything was goal oriented and it was like read 20 pages a day, read 10 pages a day. I'm not sitting here and saying that I wasn't privy to that mindset. I think I definitely was, but it was more time based. Read 30 minutes, read half, read an hour. Even right now on my post-it notes, I've got to read 30 minutes. Obviously, I'm running late. I can't read 30 minutes. But I can read on the bus, and I can read when I get home. And I think my point of this video is to just remind myself to read. Just read. Because like everything in life, it's going to be hard to do that thing, and the things that are worth doing often are the hardest things to do, right? They require that effort that seems to have some sort of moral drive to it. It seems to have some claim to exist, and the force it has to be out of just the mind and into action to do things. It seems to have quite a strong, feeling in the heart that pushes you to do it. And when we deny it, obviously, it makes us feel like shit. Which I think is why when I read, it does feel like a bit of an accomplishment, yeah, but it feels more relieving that I didn't waste the thought or waste the idea of what had to be done. You say you're gonna do 10 push-ups, do 10 push-ups. You say you're gonna go to the gym, go to the gym. You say you're gonna tell your mom you're sorry, apologize to your mom. You say you're gonna eat this amount of calories, eat that amount of calories. You say you're gonna write this amount of words, write this amount of words. You say you're gonna be a good person, be a good person. Do what you can to fulfill those, right? Of course, no one's asking you to be the best all the time. No one's asking you to be perfect, but I mean, you are yourself, right? That's just how it is, Your own worst enemy, your own worst critic, But I think the point is to just do it because it means something and it's important, especially to yourself, to me. Just read, and I know that's quite an easy statement when you're in the mood for it, but when you're depressed and so many other things are tacked on, it's going to be hard. But I think when we look at reading, I could go maybe into some political, some social, some historical aspects of the novel. I don't want to, because it's already 5 minutes in the video and I want to end this quick. But I will say that you can't pick up a book and act like it's the most common, relaxing experience in your entire life. You're engaging with ideas, and you're engaging with a form that requires you to have some of your head screwed on. So you probably have to be in the right place in the right time. Especially in the day, you always find yourself, okay, where can I be most comfortable to read, and when? I'd say, however it is, good, bad, easy, hard, it's all the same. And I think if you read many books, it'll be something that you'll agree with, hopefully. How you read a book is quite different to how you think about the book when you finish with it. I'm reading Hemingway right now, the one I just showed you. And I'd read a lot of Steinbeck before. And obviously Hemingway was another big masculine writer that I thought I had to read, because he was on my mind, he was on my go-tos, and I felt a connection, you know. And I'm not loving Farewell to Arms. I'm enjoying it, but I'm not loving it. I don't see it as much as an artful work as I do some of Steinbeck's, Canary Row was, or Canary, how you want to pronounce it. Grapes of Wrath definitely was. Tortilla Flat was somehow hilarious and the most beautiful thing I'd ever read in my life. What else have I read by Steinbeck? I actually can't remember. Quite like 7, 8 novels. I got some other stuff up there. I mean, I bought his entire. I'm quite a completionist when it comes to Steinbeck. So yeah, all of his stuff has been art. The Vigilante I was obsessed with. The Long Valley was nice because there was a lot of breaks. With short stories. But I always feel different to how I felt reading the book. And like the fact that I can't remember all the Steinbecks I've read is hilarious, because I valued them all so much, and it might be a memory thing for me, but yeah, how you read a book and how you remember a book is completely different. Because I know I'm not going to fully enjoy this Hemingway as though it was Grapes of Wrath. But I didn't enjoy Grapes of Wrath as though it was Grapes of Wrath. It was X amount of pages, and every day I'd wake up and I'd think, I'm a piece of shit because I didn't read 50 pages today. I read 10 or I read 20, and 20 was such a huge amount of effort for me, And but I'm a writer. I should be reading more and I should be capable more. Like, no, you're at where you're at. The other day I was looking through some things from primary school, and I had a certificate for a dark pink reading award, and I think black was the highest level. I remember other people in my class getting these high levels, and I remember having to go back with a certain teacher into a room and do some reading lessons, because I just couldn't quite get at their level, and I wanted to. I really wanted to be at their level. And now it's not about the fact that I'm not at their level. I do still scrutinize myself in the same way. But the appreciation you get for a book when you're done, what I'm saying is, I think with a book, this is not true, but I think off the top of my dome, the thing with a book is that it's almost the opposite to a journey and a destination. To read, especially when you're in shoes like mine, it's a difficult task. It's hard. It's not easy. And it takes up a lot of time and effort that I don't seem to always have. But once it's done, it's an unbelievable experience. And the memories and the knowledge and the person you be after that book is completely different. So I think when I say just read, in my mind, and this video is for myself, it's not really for public, even though it is public. 5 minutes, I said it's 10. The struggle is worth it Because at the end, when you're finished with any book you've ever read, if you loved it at the start and hated it at the end, if you had such a point to read it and realized it was not as good as what you'd wanted it to have been, if it was the same all the way through, if it was a masterpiece and it carried its art all the way through to the end, whatever it is, you'll value each book, right? And on your bookshelf, or if you put them back in the library, whatever your situation is, you'll always know you've read that book, and it'll be in a certain place and a time, and it'll have an effect, and it's valuable. And even though the journey is a struggle and the journey is really hard to get through that book, 10 pages a day, 350-page book is 35 days. For a whole month of your life, it's going to be hard. I think to acknowledge that doesn't matter, because there's in the same way of some religious thought, the struggle doesn't really matter on earth, because when you get to heaven, it's just, feet up from eternity. Just struggle a bit so you can have your feet up when you're done with the book and say, yeah, I remember when I was reading this, and these thoughts come to mind, and you can learn, you can grow from it. I think ultimately I'm saying don't put too much pressure on yourself, because that pressure is like the doubt from the last video. It's only you that does it so. And ultimately it doesn't have too much of a claim on the world, because it's not actually external, it's just internal. And it's not a gun that's shooting you in the head, it's just your thought, which you can get out of your head. You can't get a bullet out of your head as easy as you can get a thought, but that's where we're lucky, is you can take that doubt and you can just chuck it away. I'm saying it as if it's easy, but you get my point. Anyways, just to hell with the struggle, to hell with the fact that we do struggle. It's good for when we grow, but we don't know this in the moment. Just make sure to read and not put too much pressure on yourself, because you don't need to be some god reader who reads 100 books a day, like BookTok stuff. Just take it your own pace. It's okay that you haven't read a book in 2 months. It's just a book. I think I'll leave it there. I should have left it there 8 minutes ago, but I think I'll leave it there. On a nicer note, if I could leave it somewhere, I'd say Grapes of Wrath, The Wildlands by Robert Macfarlane. That was nice. I'd say, I did want to talk about something else, but I don't know. Yeah, why not? I looked at my library list for university, the undergrad, and I think I'd read over 300, or with journals and extra secondary sources, it would have been about 325 to 350 pieces all in all. And I don't really remember any of them. Some you do, some you don't. Their Eyes for Watching God, so O'Neill. I remember that. The Tempest, I remember reading that. There's a lot I don't remember. Orinoco I remember, but I don't remember actually reading it. Stop stressing, please. Not as like stop stressing, it's an easy thing, but don't stress, please. Life should be kinder. Life should be more upbeat. Because you're not reading a book does not mean that you're Satan. You're a human being. Everybody struggles, and you're allowed to struggle with reading. Take it at your own pace. Just anything. Just read. Just make sure you read a little. Bye.